Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to part 4, turn 4, 13th of July, in our playthrough of War in the East. The current patch, Happy New Year, and let's move into it. What has happened since the last turn? Well, Leningrad Military District keeps fortifying the line down to Novgorod. I have a very thin security unit line screening northwards towards Leningrad. Skov fell, but the infantry division defending it managed to escape, retreat, rout. A human player would probably not have made that mistake, encircled, and then eliminated the next turn. We have a small army covering the Starya Rushka sector. We have a small army covering Veliki Luki here, starting to dig in. I left these towards forts because for some reason the AI decided to set a very substantial force here towards Polotsk. Maybe they're just moving eastwards. I haven't really been paying attention, or it's an AI mistake, I don't know. Around Smolensk we have two armies. I had to move them over to the western district due to air placement. I'll talk about air operations a little bit later. So we have one army, the 19th, in Smolensk and northwards, and under what's his name? Under Vatutin, the 30th army has quite a lot of armor in reserve behind the line. So this line is pretty decent here now, actually, defending against I think like 6 to 8 motorized division that pushed over the Dnieper. I think a human player would be able to make a major encirclement because my flanks are open. I doubt the AI will do it, but even that would be without any infantry support next turn. That would be quite risky, especially since I keep my elite 20th army under a pretty bad leader. But anyways, I have a lot of good divisions up here, and they're too far away to really strengthen this Smolensk line, but they are situated in a good position to make counterattacks on any encircling, kind of isolated, spread out Panzer Schwerpunkt breakthroughs here. So I have a bit of a reserve here. So this is probably the strongest part of my front, which shows because the Gomel sector here is entirely empty. Maybe I should have placed reserves last turn if I magically could have produced them. But now not the front rail line, but the secondary front line here has a lot of reserves coming for the next turn, and we'll just have to see how far the Panzer spearheads are going to be able to push. I don't quite know what happens if they manage to reach a reinforcement hex, if they get displaced with one, or if the reinforcement does not happen at all. I should check that up in the manual of 500 pages. But anyway, this sector will not be as empty next turn. And if they choose to just go into here and try to outflank towards Moscow, yeah, I'm okay with that. There's nothing really valuable here except the town of Gomel. I consider, of course, the highway through Smolensk to Moscow much more important, as you can see by my deployment here. Further south, we have the 21st Army, which is a small screening force here against a few advanced. Oh, look at this little. What is that? Liebstandarte Adolf Hitler SS Motorized Brigade decided. Well, there's nothing to cut off. I emptied. Oops, I forgot these troops. Okay, let me just move them. I probably forgot them quite a few turns because I am playing not sloppy, but I'm not paying super attention to stuff like this. I think they've been standing for, they could have been out of the pocket, these corps. The Kiev sector is holding firm because there are no German units in the area. I don't know why the AI captured this. Well, obviously it will help me to move infantry up here. But no threat towards Kiev the following turn at all. But my Cherkasy Kremenchug sector here along the Dnieper um, does not have any troops at all, and that's because I kind of made a mistake with my limited reinforcements arrivals the last turn. I did not place them where I thought I placed them. I placed them somewhere else. I get to that when we get to the south. We have a strong 10th army with some tanks in it here under a good leader, Bobkin. And Rokossovsky has a lot of tanks and some infantry covering the Dnepropetrovsk sector. So I have to say this is fairly well held, this sector here in the bend of the Dnieper. But as you can see, south of, I'll try to pronounce this, Zaporozhye, we have no defense at all along the marshy Dnieper outlet here. I keep 2 divisions in these towns. I just hope they don't get encircled so I can withdraw them. I don't know quite if that's the right thing to do or not. We'll see. It's a learning process for me. Now the Odessa sector is a bit of a hassle. The problem is you can only enter with 1 ground unit into the city fortress per turn, since I'm keeping the coastal artillery with all these UC heavy coastal batteries intact. If I were to disband this, then I could place 2 ground units and they could each both enter into the city fortress during the same turn. So I'm slowing down my process of filling Odessa's garrison by choosing to keep the coastal battery alive. I really don't understand the logic about it. Maybe it should have cost 90% or 75% of your movement's allowance instead of all, because now I have a 3rd infantry division here. I have 1 inside already. The first turn I entered with an HQ. That was probably a mistake. I should have taken a ground unit infantry division inside instead. And I'm keeping a tank division here just to cover these HQs that I hope to get in, the army and another. But it's hard to fill up the city fortress at Odessa with enough forces to defend it due to time constraints. And a human player coming crashing down here with the 11th army under Manstein and all the siege guns and engineers in the entire world, of the Wehrmacht at least, I'd be sure they just swoop in and kick out whatever 3, 4. Let's say you get the first turn. I don't think you can get an infantry division in because the southern front is locked. Maybe if you rail 1 in, well, you couldn't enter, but you could place it on top here. So second turn 1, and okay, so by turn 2, 3, and 4, I could have had 3 divisions inside instead of 1, and a 4th the next turn. All right, that would make a difference. So I kind of bungled the defense of Odessa, but I didn't remember these city fort restrictions. So this is probably gonna fall. Is it worth sacrificing anything here, trying to defend with 2 or 3 divisions? I don't know. Could I? We'll see what happens. Around the bottleneck into Kerch, I'm keeping a mountain army, just digging in here the bottleneck. And here's the mistake. I thought I placed my reserve theater box arrival hex somewhere else, and in fact it was down here by Sevastopol. So now instead I have a rather large army or large core or small army digging forts around Sevastopol. Sure, that's not a bad thing, but would these troops have been more useful somewhere else on the map? Well, it was a mistake from the drunken debaucher in the Stavka, and we'll just have to live with it. I decided to not go back and redo it, because I discovered it once I'd done a lot of other stuff. A change from the version I played at release is that you will only be able to dig into level 1 forts or entrenchment and 10%, unless you have a fortress unit in the hex. Before you could dig into level 2, if you were within, I don't know, 20 or 25 hexes of an enemy unit. So these back, I could have made a much stronger defensive line further back from the front, but now you have to waste quite a lot of political power to if you want a fort more than one. And a level 1 fort isn't much to write home to the taiga or to Siberia about, really. So that's a fairly major change, and I still haven't read up about the patch notes, but you know, I know they changed that somewhere along the line. It makes it a bit more challenging to dig in the Red Army in time. You have to decide where to put your forts and fortress units. For now, I decided to make Vyasma into a hedgehog here. I placed a couple of fortress units around in the surroundings here, and then I'll try to build out, from there. Okay, the air part. Oh, it's a good thing I remembered to mention that. I have started the campaign with using the automated AI air system, and that's fine considering how I'm playing this. And I thought the AI would pull out command groups and fill them with airplanes, so I didn't have to do anything. But no, I think that part of the system is not automated. So now I've decided to manually deploy a couple of air groups here, mostly with a bit older aircraft, to give these forces here, I think, air support. It is Northwest Air Command. It is following the Northwestern Front, and since these, maybe I should put it to cover a certain army, but I'm just gonna leave it on Front Command and see what happens if I do that. So these air forces should cover all the yellow pieces, and even these down here. Good or bad, I don't know, not experienced. Please leave a comment if you know how you handle the automatic system. And obviously the Western Air Command, I hope, will be supporting the Smolensk air section. That's all the air I deployed. I decided, I think, against deploying air to protect Odessa for some reason. Maybe I was bored with the micromanagement. And because I need to finish up some derailing of armored units here, I will not show you the German turn. It's probably not that interesting anyway, so I will see you in the next one.